New week, new chapter, new project. Now, natural language processing, NLP, the least favorite of mine. I try to go to the Hello World for NLP, sentiment analysis. The Hello World is more like IMDb reviews, but I decided to have some sort of invention or innovation, being a little bit creative, and went for Arabic reviews. So reviews are simple. There is a review description, there is a rating, either 1 for positive, -1, or -1 for negative, or 0 for neutral, but I remove neutral. There is a company, but the company won't be a differentiator in this task, so I just dropped it and I kept it just like that. The rating and the review. There is That's just an insight of how the reviews looks, and they're more than 40,000 instances in data. I removed the nulls. There was just one null, and I removed it. Then I removed the neutral ratings, and then I transformed the -1 to 0, so the negative now is 0, the positive is 1. Then split the data, test, validation, train. I started training a simple LSTM. I started by adapting a text vectorization layer, and then embedding word embeddings, then LSTM, then the activation, sigmoid activation on a single neuron dense layer, then combined it, binary cross entropy, optimized it, use it NADM, and then trained. It achieved an accuracy of 84%. This is very boring actually. Then visualized the loss and the accuracy. As you can see, the validation loss was jumping around until it started decreasing with momentum. Same thing for its accuracy. It started randomly, then it dropped, then it got higher, and so on. Then on the test set, it achieved nearly 85%. أفشل شركة ده أفشل مشروع. That's an insight of label against prediction. Only just one is different between the 10 I used, and that's normal because there's 15% of wrong predictions, so that's normal. Then I started fine tuning the model. This is the first time I used fine tuning on a neural network. I used Curse Tuner. It's so simple, you just make a function for building the model, and then you instantiate a random search Curse Tuner, and that's it, actually. That's the whole thing. For the hyperparameters that I wanted to tune, the embedding output, uh, how many dimensions the embedding is outputting, and the number of neurons in the LSTM. I gave it options, then I wrote the model, then compiled it and returned it. Again, in the random search, I gave it the function that I built, told it to watch the validation accuracy, only 5 trials, and Then started training on the training data for 5 epochs per trial, which means a total of 25 epochs across 5 models. The best on the validation accuracy was I'm not sure, the second trial or the third one. It achieved a nearly 83% accuracy. Of course, that's not comparing to the first model because the first model was trained on 10 epochs. This is just on 5 ones to just make it faster. And it took like 20 minutes to random search, so that was actually good. Here is the model, the fine-tuned one. The embedding dimensions output is 8. That's the best. The first model was just 5, I guess. And for the LCM, instead of 128, it found that 131 is better, just 3 extra neurons. I'm not sure that if that makes a big difference, but it found out that this combination is actually better. And after training the best model for 10 epochs on the full training data, which means the training and validation sets, it achieved a test accuracy of 86%, which is a little bit higher than the first model, but it's good to learn how to fine tune and stuff. The same mistake in here for the same review, but anyway, I learned a lot in this project: sentiment analysis, how to work with text data, how to vectorize them, and embeddings, all of this. I have to say that I've never liked NLP projects. It's not as fun as computer vision. Computer vision for me is the favorite, it's the funniest, but it was cool. I learned a lot. It was very boring actually, and I faced a lot of problems, and I couldn't. I wanted to use a transformer of from Hugging Face, but it didn't work out because I'm using TensorFlow. So I'll be switching to PyTorch really soon to be able to use transformers and build LLMs and stuff like that. And also PyTorch is getting more popular by time. So I guess that would be the fine move that I take. That's it. For the next project, it will be the deep generative model project. Only two project remains: the generative models and the reinforcement learning project. I'm not sure what I will be building. I'm not sure even what I'll be learning, but I'll leave this for time. That's it.